So let's talk. Why would you buy a Glock 29? Well, there's actually several reasons for buying a Glock 29. One is that it's actually about the size of a Glock 19. Okay. So it does have the shorty grip on it though. Okay. But if you actually stick it right next to a Glock 19, they are so close to the same. It's not even funny. It's kind of comical actually. But it's relatively easy to carry. A Glock 20 is not as easy to carry. They're bigger, they're bulkier, they're heavier, and yes, the ballistics are slightly better, but again, hard to argue with the Glock 29. They shoot well, recoil is manageable, and there is some things that you can do to make that work better for you. Now, I have large size hands. Okay, I wear, at least a large glove, a lot of times an extra large glove, just so you can kind of get an idea. The grip frame on a Glock 29 is still thick. Okay, it definitely takes up some space. All right, so you with small, medium-sized hands, this is not going to be the best gun for you. Okay, I can get a good grip on it, but I know a lot of people couldn't. So that's the reason why not to buy a Glock 29. You definitely want to pick one up before you buy it. Okay. As you saw, it's empty. Modifications I've done to the gun is, I'll put this right here for a minute. I carry this gun. So it's got excess big dot sights on it. I am in my 40s, and so those are easier for me to pick up. They are night sights. They do glow. If you guys have not used them, I do like them a lot. Real simple rear blade with just the alignment line. Okay, put the lollipop on the stick and pretty much you're good to go. There are some ranging things with that, as far as depending on how close or which hole in the lollipop you want to put on top of the stick. But really simple sight to use, really easy to see. You guys have hopefully seen a video on a Glock 29 before. This is the Gen 4, so it does have the interchangeable back straps. It does come with 3 magazines, 2 of which you'll see there. One which is just sitting here with the loader dingus that I never use. They are small, 10 rounds, so it's 10 plus 1, so it's 11. Now, compared to a 9mm, that is a relatively small loadout. There is no doubt about that. However, when you're talking about 357 Magnum power and a semi-auto firearm, that's almost 2 cylinders full without having to reload. So something to think about there. These do generate a lot of power and a lot of velocity depending on the round you use. So why the Gen 4 Glock? Well, and 10mm even in that fashion. Well, 10mm has its detractors, of course. Some people will say that it has been neutered, and I would agree to some degree on that with some of the loadings that are out there, although you can get really hot loadings for it too, so we'll go over those here in a second as well. But if you spend any time in the backcountry, bears, mountain lions, predators, this is definitely a round that has a track record of being effective against those kinds of threats and people threats too. You're talking about, if you're in, let's say, a cold weather environment like Minnesota or somewhere else cold like Montana, people are wearing heavy coats and heavy jackets on top of a heavy sweater. The penetration of a 10mm round is welcome, to say the least. So again, more powerful than a 45, more powerful than a 9mm by leaps and bounds, and about, again, 357 Magnum power out of a relatively small semi-automatic handgun. Again, you guys have seen Glocks, you know how Glocks work. The Gen 4 trigger is definitely a little bit better than the Gen 3 trigger, but it's still not outstanding like far as, striker fired guns go. There's definitely better triggers out there than that. And I will eventually upgrade this one. I haven't done it yet. But reasons why you want to maybe look at a Glock 29. So let's take a look. So this is the Glock 29. right there, Gen 4, 10mm auto. Again, the slide stop, slide release is relatively small on the Glocks. Good and bad. I think it makes it harder for as using the slide stop as a slide release. It does work, but you have to put some pretty good pressure on it. And, but again, it's really hard to ride it with your thumb and make it, deactivate the slide stop when you're firing. So pluses and minuses. With the Glock, I would probably just recommend racking the slide when it comes back to empty. So make it easier on you. Serrations are good, a la Glock. The finish is good on these guns. It's not as good as the old Tennifer finishes, which you can't get anymore. So, but the finish is good. They're fine. Some reasons why you might want to look at a 10mm pistol and the Glock 29. So I just pulled these out of the thing. I don't use them, but it has these interchangeable back straps, which are actually nice, especially for 10mm. I'm just going to put one up on the gun here for a second here so you can kind of see how they work. So excuse me while I do this. I'm not going to pin it in place or anything, but what that does is this is the thinner of the two, but what it does, again, gives you a little bit more meat to the grip if you've got super large hands. But the nice thing it does is it gives you a bit of a beaver tail on the back of the Glock. Less likely if you've got really meaty hands, for the slide not to eat the webbing of your hand right there, slide bite. I don't have a problem with that, and I've got pretty big hands, so I mean, even tucking this thing in without, that, I mean, you'd have to work really hard. You'd have to really, really hard to get your hand in that slide. But I know people do it, so if you have that issue, the Gen 4s come with those. That's pretty sweet. And they've got two just regular, grip panels in the back to add a little spacing if you need that. But I think these are actually pretty cool. So these, not so much. It's already a damn big gun, and I've got it without anything on it right now. And again, I've got large hands, so I mean, I can almost put the whole Glock 29 in my hand to give you any idea of how the size of the gun is compared to my hand. So I've got relatively large hands. But again, I don't have any of the extra back panels on there, and you can see when I come around, I grip on it. Again, I just barely get my two knuckles to curl around the grip as it is. So, and then texturing goes, a la Glock. They said it's improved generationally. I still say no. Is it better? Maybe, but just ever so slightly. I will probably end up taking the finger grooves off. Again, the thing with this, it doesn't necessarily not fit my hand. It's just because these bumps don't have any real texturing on them. I mean, they got like some, but it doesn't really bite into my hand very good. Like my fingers feel like they're sliding on these. Like this piece right here with the texturing doesn't seem to actually get a hold of my finger very good, and the bumps just don't add anything for me. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I'd rather have just better texturing. So I probably will take those off, just like everybody else does, and probably have it stippled, just like everybody else does. And I will have the frame undercut. You can see, again, if we look in there, like that really kind of does not fit my fingers very good for a large gun. That's the one thing I think Glock could do a better job, taking that down and taking that up a little higher. Everyone has said that for years, and every Glock I have feels the same way, and I end up having to cut that down a little bit to make my finger fit. Something to look at. And yes, I'm wearing moccasins. So now, if we're looking at what comes in the box, of course you got 3 mags, 1, 2, and then you've got third mag, the loader dingus, the back straps. There's a total of 4 different ones, 2 with the beaver tails, 2 just palm swell extenders. typical Glock Gen 4. I do like these guys, though. Again, I've said that, but I really like that. It's a neat idea. I think it'll help mitigate recoil a little bit on that. But why carry 10 millimeter? Well, loadings, okay? So let's look. This is relatively inexpensive. I bought this in 1,000 round lots in the herders, and I think I paid $334 for the 1,000. So not cheap, but 30 cents a round. I can afford to practice with that. But still 180 grain jacketed hollow point, doing right around, I think, 1,400 feet per second out of a 5-inch barrel. So definitely no slouch. The reasons why to own a 10 millimeter. Look at this one right here. This is the Underwood loading. This is a 135 grain jacketed hollow point out of a 5.5-inch barrel, or a 5-inch barrel. Glock, sorry. It is doing 1,600 feet per second. The ballistics I've seen on this one, we're doing right around just under 1,500 feet per second out of the Glock 29. So, not a slouch. And then you've got the double tap. And these are the hard cast solids. These are the 200 grains. These are about what the Glock barrel will stabilize from what I've read and been seeing. Anything above that weight tends to tumble unless you go with an aftermarket barrel. So again, this is 200 grains doing 1,300 feet per second out of a Glock 20. It even says the gun that it was tested on. So again, look at the rounds. That's the herders right there. That is the Underwood. And that's the double tap. So, again, guys, this is, we're talking 357 Magnum power out of a small handgun. Yeah, I like it so far. I do carry it quite a bit. Again, as far as holsters and stuff like that go, this was just an Amazon holster, and that looked cool. Fits the gun pretty good. Retention is decent, if I shake it, it actually holds pretty darn good, especially for a relatively inexpensive Kydex holster. Kydex is great. I love Kydex. And again, this thing just works. Again, as I continue to shoot this, I haven't shot it very much yet. I've only kind of begun to play with it a little bit. Accuracy is decent. It's better than I am. And then I'll let you know what I think after I get hopefully a couple thousand rounds through it. Thanks for watching.